I haven't talked about this in a really long time, and I think it's high time I did. Today, I'm going to share with you how I got to be here in the Netherlands. I will be telling you how I got here, how long I've been here, the things I experienced immigrating into this country, and other things. So before I get into the story, I want to say a little bit about why I feel like it's important to tell it. About a week ago, I talked to a friend on his channel about being immigrants, because we are more immigrants, we are not expats. Expats always are going to return back to their home. While that's still an option for me, I hold 2 passports and I naturalized in the Netherlands. I think the reason why I want to tell this is to give another layer of how I approach my work, because I am quite literally a foreigner in the country I live in. And it's odd to say it. I've been doing this for about 16 years now. And there's a lot of things in this that I think can help. Whether or not you want to move abroad or you are yourself living abroad, what this experience gives is a chance to see things in a different way, which is what I'm all about in my coaching. Perspective shifting, seeing it from another person's point of view. I really had to use a lot of those skills when I first moved. How the heck did I get to be here? Well, in 2008, I went for a 2-week vacation around Thanksgiving. I came to visit a friend. In this 2 weeks, she was going to marry her boyfriend, and I was going to be a part of that ceremony as a witness. So I would sign the documents as her official witness. I was her witness, and well, who became my husband was the witness of her fiance. The day I landed is the day I met him, and it's kind of like a regular movie scene in my mind. He walked through the threshold and it was like a beam of light came down on him. I was pretty jet lagged at the time, but I woke up and took notice and paid careful attention to him in a way I've never done anyone before in my life. After the 2-week vacation, him and I did come together and confess that we had an attraction. And we spent the last 5 days of my trip together. At the end of those 5 days, I had to leave. And we weren't really sure how to navigate this. We thought we would just play it day by day. The day that I had to leave, I remember that feeling that I didn't want to go. And I did say to him the night before, well, I could just miss my plane. When I was younger, I did that a lot. I did get on the plane and he convinced me, you do have a job and you have to get back. The day that I landed back in my home, back in Michigan, my dad picked me up and said, they're doing a lot of layoffs in your company. So I just want you to be aware you might lose your job this week. And just to give you some context, it's 2008. The crisis was just starting. This company wasn't going to suffer that way, and it was just before Christmas. They were making cuts to make their revenue line look better because they wanted to merge or buy out another company in their industry. I was indeed one of those people who got fired. Now, I also was a contracted employee, so I didn't work under the company. I worked for another company, but I didn't care because that meant I was available and I could do whatever I want. Now, I wasn't really sure about how my boyfriend, because I didn't even know if I could call him that, felt. But we had been talking twice a day since I got home, which is hard to do with a 6-hour time difference, but we did it. He called me and said, I don't know if you would consider this, but would you consider coming back and living here for 3 months? And I know the kind of person he already was by this point. This is so unusual for him to do. And I am the person who always is spontaneous and is always looking for an adventure. And I really was taken by that. And then I thought about, well, how could I do that? And it didn't take too long. I figured it out pretty fast. It was just the part about telling my parents because I had been living with them for 2 years. Now, I was in my mid-30s, so I'm an adult and I can do what I want. But, when you're living with your parents, you feel like a certain responsibility. Turned out I was back 2 weeks later, and I made it just in time for New Year's. It was a huge, huge leap of faith. I'm glad I did it. We did our 3 months, and I had to go back because Americans can come on their passport for 3 months. They don't have to get a visa. But after 3 months, you either have to go to a different country to reset it or go back home or find another reason and find another way to stay. That was the beginning. And I wasn't sure where it was going to go. I just took that step, and so did he. We lived together very well. I didn't really have to set up much because it was only 90 days. But we wanted to continue, which meant I had some paperwork to do and some things to figure out. So I got back on the plane, and coincidentally, that company that fired me hired me back. I didn't let them know what I was up to. So I took the job so I could make some money. And then the paperwork and figuring out how to make this work started. I'm going to leave it there and tell you that story in part 2. But I want to highlight some things here. A lot of people may be looking into moving to another country, and there are all kinds of ways to do that. I definitely have resources which I will link in this series so that you can check that out. I want to recognize also, though, the way that I've come to live here was through love. And that is a very virtuous thing, but that's not something you can plan for. So if you are looking to move to another country, it might be helpful to look into those resources and find ways to do that. But I wanted to leave that as a disclaimer. I didn't plan on meeting the love of my life. I planned to have a 2-week vacation, and I had no idea that it would be possible to move. There is a lot of things I did not slow down to consider because I was in love, and I felt like everything else would fall in line as it would. I didn't really slow down and go, well, will this be this? And none of that. And that's the kind of person I am. I have ADHD. I live by my intuition. Maybe not as impulsive as I used to be, but I really went and followed my heart. Now, part 2 of this story, I'm going to tell you some of what transpired over the first few years and give you a little idea of what it takes to really live in another country. One key resource you need to have on your side is resiliency. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe below and follow me. I'm also on Substack where these videos will also be housed. So join me over there where I also tell different stories about coaching and my book writing adventure. I have a goal to write a book by the end of the year and publish it. So follow that journey if you are interested. Otherwise, I'll be back next Friday with a new video telling you more about how the heck I got to be here. Thanks for tuning in.